Two teams with two of the worst records in the Western Conference battled hard and to the wire tonight. And the Pelicans finally sneak by the Jazz, 128-111. We're breaking it down. Coming up next on POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Utah Jazz, New Orleans Pelicans. Final score, Pelicans 128, Jazz 121. I'm David Locke along with Ron Boone. This is POSTCAST. We bring it to you live here on Locked On Jazz after every single Utah Jazz game, so make sure you join us on tonight's game. We'll break down how this one played out as we regularly do. Jazz once again with a very good first quarter. Third quarter was the highlight of the night for the Jazz. How did they fall in the end? Reliability pluses and a career night for Oscar Tshiebwe, all to be discussed as we go through this one. Ron, let's start off with the Jazz so shorthanded tonight without Walker Kessler, without Lauri Markkanen, without John Collins, without Colin Sexton, without Jordan Clarkson. So a lot of guys put into major positions. What jumped out to you and how they handled that?
First quarter. That jumped out.
Because it was only 30-26 in the first quarter and they played well?
Exactly. And you know, this game was many spurts, I think. Jazz getting back in the ball game, get to the point where they're shooting the basketball very well. I'm interested in what Will has to say about this.
And what are you expecting to hear from him, or what are you interested to hear from him?
I'm wondering. Okay, the guys played well, or there's some complaints. Because you look at it, Keyonte was probably had as much experience. Springer 17 minutes, but yeah, I'd be interested just to see, what he thought about.
You want my guess?
Yes.
Okay, he's going to lament the amount of layups and rim shots in the first half of the game. They didn't miss a shot at the rim. They were 11 of 11 in the first half. They were, I think, 25 of 29 in the paint in the first half. So he's going to lament that. He could get pretty frustrated, I think, talking about players scoring on one end of the floor and not defending on the other. And I don't think he'll single out any individuals, but I think we'll hear that because he'll be sending a message to players in the locker room. I think he'll compliment the guys who guarded Zion for the effort and most part, but that they have to be better with the details because he got to his left hand where he wants, but he does that to everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think he'll single out Oscar Tshiebwe's effort and play tonight.
Yeah.
That's my guess on the Will Hardy. That should be a fun little game. We should play Guess the Will Hardy press conference.
But he'll be complimentary, that's for sure. And whether or not he points out problems out there on the floor that we need to get better at. I mean, a lot of coaches don't necessarily go that direction. Even in some of the coaches' meetings, you very seldom see them with a ton of complaints.
It's fun. Don't know if we have access to this. I mean, the first thing I'll do when I go home every night is I watch the Will Hardy press conference. So I've become quite a veteran, 59 of these later, on what the Will Hardy press conference is like about. He is more forthcoming than many coaches in this league about some criticisms, usually done in a manner of like, this is about development and this is tonight what we have to develop and do a better job of. Every now and then there's the Dalton Connect comment where he makes the comment that everyone in the building, except for seemingly 5 players on our team, knew that Dalton Connect was going to shoot and things like that. I don't think we'll get that about Kelly Olynyk tonight, but Kelly sure was a part of the night tonight. Kind of took advantage of the Jazz early, had 12 points in that first quarter.
I just thought Kelly Olynyk's experience did you see him posting guys up? I mean, just overpowering, the guys at Sensabaugh and anyone that was guarding him and using his ability to unorthodox type moves he has around the basket and scoring. And I'm sure he really, really enjoyed the ball game tonight.
Yeah, and he just is such a great – he just loves the game. Like, the guys who've been around who like the game, he's been traded. He didn't want to be traded. He didn't want to be traded from here. He didn't want to be traded from Toronto. And so he comes out and just has a great game. All right, let's get to the Jazz tonight. This is a great question that just came in. I don't usually take questions, but I think this one's interesting. What is Keyonte's percentage when shooting from the right elbow to the corner? That is consistent area that he can be efficient. So I'm going to look into this tonight, Brian, to prep because it's actually bad. His angle right three is actually 29% on the season, but both Ron and I are with you that something in the last stretch of time, and the NBA does not really have a way for me, I believe, to go and take shortened stretches of time and get the shot chart over the last 10 games. I can get above the break, but I can't get angle right, I don't think, for the last 10 games. So I'm going to have to figure out through some other programs that I have to be able to figure that out. Because I agree with you. Key does seem to be, like we talk about, I remember last year talking about Keyonte Ron, that he just took shots from everywhere all the time, and they were never the same. It does seem as though he has begun to zero in and find his spots on the floor.
Yeah, and it's on that right side, that's for sure. And listen to me here for a minute, because guys going to their right, they never square up off the dribble. So Keyonte is doing something special here, because he's not squaring up to shoot the jump. You're going to your left, you don't have to square up, because that right side is already on that, facing the basket. So he's not squaring up so he can shoot the basketball. So that is tremendous. I can look and see how many shots he's taking on the left side opposed to the right side. I can get that, but that's the total for the year. But as of late, he's been really, he's just been off the charts.
He and his coach, Chris Jones, have worked really hard and done a tremendous job of that. To your point, Ron, I called Ray Allen one of the years. I think it was a record-breaking year. And if he was sliding left, my call was that it was in before it left his hands.
Yes.
But if he was sliding right, I was waiting to see. Like, that's how it felt when I was calling Ray, because he was just at such a absolutely
going left. You don't have to square your shoulders for the most part.
Outrageous.
Luka, perfect example of not squaring your shoulders on that left side, and he's deadly.
All right, some highlights for the Jazz tonight. The big guys, Kyle Filipowski and Oscar Tshiebwe, against rookies, Misi and Metkovic, and then Beast in Zion. But the two of them combined tonight, I believe, if I have this right, for 28 points, 24 rebounds, and 8 assists. It's a pretty good outing by Filipowski and Tshiebwe as a combined effort.
Yeah, that was fun to watch him, and I'm sure he was excited. What I liked about it, he's a rebounder. He is definitely a rebounder, and he rebounds out of his area. He doesn't wait for the ball to come to him. I noticed he was trying to tap the basketball to himself if he wasn't in good position. So, and what did he have tonight as far as rebounds are concerned? He ended up with 13 rebounds and 4 of those on the offensive glass.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
What I thought Kyle could get really outmanned tonight. I loved when he got up against Metkovic and he just beat him, because he should be better than him. Misi was drafted ahead of him. I didn't have a feeling on their matchup. And he matched up on Zion, and it kind of went as it does that you get matched up against Zion. Like, I'm not about to be judging Kyle Filipowski for defending Zion Williamson, since he's the 12th best isolation player in the NBA, and there aren't many guys that can guard Zion Williamson. What was your thought on Kyle tonight?
Well, I really enjoyed what he was doing. I thought he had an excellent basketball game. He did a lot of things well. At the beginning of the ball game, I was wondering if he was going to get intimidated by Zion with his speed, his jumping ability, and how strong he is. But I was impressed. I really was.
We had an interesting moment at halftime on our radio broadcast, and I don't want to overplay it, but I think it's one that's important for us as fans of the team that are following it every day to be aware. I opened up the interview with Scott Morrison and basically highlighting Brice Sensabaugh because he'd scored a lot of points. And I was quickly rebuked in a pleasant way that basically for every point he had scored, he'd allowed one. And I think it's a good reminder that, the NBA box score comes to you and it only has the offensive side of the ball. And I think sometimes as a fan, rather than being like, well, this guy should play more, stop and be like, oh, well, maybe there's a reason he's not playing more. I remember earlier this year, Brice was hitting threes and nobody else on the team was, and he wasn't playing. And I was like, okay, well, something's going on here. I don't want to single Brice out. He did have a very, very good offensive game. But it is just a good reminder, Ron, that there's a lot going on. The coaches have various standards, and that was a good reminder. And if we're going to do a post-game show about a game, I think it's actually a pretty important moment for the fans to be aware of if you didn't listen to our radio broadcast tonight. That here was, I'm singling out a player, and I'm quickly kind of told, yeah, great. He scored as many as he's given up or more. And so I thought that was an interesting moment and a good reminder to us.
So I'm wondering, going into tonight's game, before I get into the defensive side of it, if he had on his mind that he had to be the scorer out there on the floor. You look at the starting lineup. Johnny has become more of a spot-up shooter, drawing kick player, getting the basketball. Martin's not a shooter. Kyle Filipowski, he's a guy that's his game is changing, and I think he's doing a lot of things well. And then Collier. So I just wonder, coming into tonight's game, the sense about think, okay, I have to be the guy that needs to score. He got up 18 shots tonight.
And I think the coaches would 100% agree with Brice Sensabaugh that on the offensive side, he was the guy to score.
Right.
But they do not believe it means he gets to be absent on the other side of the floor.
There you go. Right, exactly. So having said that, you miss too many defensive assignments. They had 76 points in the paint.
Right.
And that's just way too many.
Well, there's the Will Hardy press conference right there.
Right.
That's the I'm not sure there's just good. Hey, really shorthanded, good effort. Played a team that's not a big win-loss team, not a good defensive team, but has also now won 5 of 7, thankfully. Appreciate them doing that immensely. Very thankful for the Pelicans. Huge Pelican fan the rest of the way, hoping they win every game they play. So I do think that there was an overall feeling should be like pretty good effort, good fight, good experience on a year of development. Another night of, like Will says it all the time, you cannot simulate close games, and they got to simulate a close game.
Well, they'll take some good things out of this ball game, but they'll be quick to point out things that help you lose basketball games and put you in a situation where you're not closing out or your rotation was terrible. Why didn't you pick this guy up? I mean, that's what film's all about. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right, reliability pluses tonight.
I have 3. I have Kyle, who's I thought did a very good job in the point that you thought, or we thought, that maybe foul trouble was going to be his big problem tonight. That did not happen.
I also love, by the way, he had a really neat second jump block. He got beat, recovered, and blocked it off the glass. I thought that was one of the most athletic plays I've seen him make all year.
So he's rapidly improving. We're seeing some good things out of him almost every game. And then Keyonte, he's just coming off the bench, and he's just, what is he, the leading scorer in the NBA now, coming off the bench?
Yep.
It's pretty close to it.
Yeah, since February,
Yeah, he's pretty close to it. And then you see, how about Oscar Tshiebwe? Yeah.
Oscar had his career night, points and rebounds, and it is the Oscars night. All right, those are our reliability pluses tonight. Ron and I will be back with you tomorrow because the Jazz will play the Pistons.
It's the Oscars night. Yeah. Okay.
So you didn't get that joke when I said that? You didn't really get that joke in the broadcast tonight when I said, do you think when Oscar gets on Twitter and sees that Oscars are trending, he's going to think it's about himself?
It's about himself. Yeah.
You didn't get that joke.
I got it.
He just
didn't think it was funny.
I invited him to dinner in Boston.
I love you, David.
In Philadelphia. In Toronto. No, on all of them. I asked him to go to Gus's Fried Chicken, which I don't really like. He said yes.
I would go for the coleslaw at Gus's, not necessarily.
Coleslaw's better at Central.
Oh, really?
Central Barbecue's coleslaw is way better. And I brought you that cake, that pie you like from Central.
Yeah, that was good.
See?
Awfully good.
I do nice things for him.
I'm the only friend he's got.
Just like, wait, what? What just happened to the show? See ya. Boom. And that I would get killed. I'd be beaten up by a 78-year-old man. It'd be brutal. See ya.